scene, right? And the shark busts through the boat. It's messing with these people. Actually, I guess these kids are partying. They hear a big thump. They're like, what is that? What is that? The shark explodes through. All 4 fall off the boat, which is beautiful. I mean, that's got to be a joke. I mean, that's obviously just a hokey thing. The shark swims about 100 yards, turns around, and is charging.
It's so far away.
Yeah. And so during this time, I really don't know if the shark wants to murder these kids. Because if it does murder the kids and gets caught, their security is going to be through the roof, or it might be killed. So I think it knocks them off. It knows that Carter Blake's coming. Maybe it's just having some fun. And somehow, during this whole melee, Carter Blake pulls up without a noise. This boat is silent. And there's no, like, when a boat moves, there's no wake coming from the stop boat, who had just floored it to them. And he somehow manages to get 2, spears tied to, sedatives on spears, shoots 2 into the shark, and the shark just completely stops. Doesn't pull the boat at all. So this boat looks like it's anchored. So this is where my crackpot theory comes in. Do you want to hear it?
Go for it.
All right, so I wrote about this last year in Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm so happy they let me put it in. And I've talked about it for a long time. But this shark was just testing the response time. It must have a GPS tracker in it. It escaped. Yeah. Carter Blake followed it immediately, knew where it was. So now, knowing how fast these sharks are, this is the Gen 1 shark that was in there, the little guy. They know how smart they are. It gets shot. It just pretends to be knocked out. Maybe the second one got it a little bit. But now it knows I'm being tracked, and this is how fast these people can get me. And I think this is when they start developing their plan to get out of Aquatica because of this moment. They know if they just escape, they'll be tracked. So they have to take it all down to be free. So that's what I'm thinking this first scene is, because the boat doesn't move. The shark doesn't fight, and he has to tow this shark back to Aquatica. Carter Blake does.
So the shark is just testing response time, basically, and response procedure.
Yeah, I mean,
what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. If these sharks are smart enough to flood an entire facility and do all this, then I think they're smart enough to test this out. And it sounds crazy, but this shark would have taken that boat out. It would have flipped Carter Blake and his lone boat. He has to tow this thing back with that. So does he drive the boat up? He probably helps the kids. They're freaking out. The shark's just sitting there. Then he probably ties something around the shark's tail and drags it back. I mean, this is a several thousand pound creature tied to a boat. So
maybe he gets the shark to pull him back. Maybe he gets like a really long stick and ties a bit of meat to the end of it. And dangles it in front of the shark.
Yeah, he
dangles one of the kids in front on the stick, and the shark swims towards it, and he gets the shark to pull him home. That's the most efficient way of doing it. It's got to be.
So he would have to build a rudimentary thing that could hold the weight of a 190 pound person.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way?
I think so.
Wow.
Prove me wrong.
That's true. There is no right or wrong on this, is there?
No.
Well, back in 97, I towed a great white shark on a canoe. And yeah, once it took off, it just took my canoe with it. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what could have been. But that's the most plausible thing. That boat doesn't move. The shark is out immediately. And it's not, I don't know. I just think that's what the shark is doing for this scene.
I agree with you. I think that the shark I think that this is the shark's plan. They're concocting it. And this is just step 1. Testing. What happens when, it's not even an if, it's when we get out. What happens? It's Steve McQueen in The Great Escape. They send him out to do some recon, to get captured, and come back to inform the rest of the prisoners. So this shark is Steve McQueen.
And you know what's crazy? The shark gets out of the fence and then blows up. Steve McQueen gets out of the facility, but he gets stuck by a fence and gets caught.
He gets stuck in the fence, yeah.
Wow.
Back in the cooler, yeah.
Oh wait, we're getting to the end here. We should probably say that, because that's a mind blower right there. We'll have to revisit that in our 33 episode or
Absolutely.
32nd episode, 31st. I also want to ask you another question. So Carter Blake comes up, he tracks this thing, he somehow knocks out this gigantic shark. He leaves. Does the Coast Guard come? Who paid? This is a very expensive sailboat, and the middle of it was just totally destroyed, and these kids are petrified. So do you think who pays for the insurance claim on this? Is it
in the next
Chimera?
scene, we find out that Sam Jackson, who Rennie Harlin describes as being the richest man in the world, basically, Russell Franklin, he's put $200 million into this project. I think repairing a catamaran is small peanuts. So I reckon it comes out of his pocket.
Imagine being these kids, though. You're out with some friends. You know what happened last weekend? We're on a boat.
Guys, you are not going to believe this.
This mega shark explodes through the middle. We're almost dead. This bionic stud muffin, that's what Carter Blake is called in a review. Someone calls Thomas Jane that. Comes up, spears him, the shark twice, tows him away. And what? Like, people are going to be like, that didn't happen.
Look, and it's so unbelievable because everyone survived. Yeah. If it was like that big of a shark, it could rip through the boat. No one's going to believe this. No one's got any wounds, no one's got any bite marks, nothing. It's just impossible. You got to feel sorry for these kids.
So that's my theory. This shark was not. This is what I believe. This shark did not want to kill these kids. And I gotta say, I love the first look that we get of it because it's not a lot, but it looks great. And I think that's a testament to Walt Conte. He also designed Free Willy and Anaconda, which we talked about on the Movies, Films, and Flicks podcast. This guy creates beautiful looking animatronics that I think look great. So what we see of this shark, I think it's a really neat setup because, I don't know, it looks great. I love these. This is not the CGI, but the animatronics in this. I mean, they call them more aerospace engineering. These things swim on their own and can get up to 30 miles an hour. So I love the first look that we get in this first chapter. What did you think about the first look we get of this shark?
I think it's great. We mentioned Jaws earlier. It's being like a Jaws-esque opening. You see far earlier of the shark here than you do in Jaws. And because, well, it's been... What was it, 22 years? No, when did Jaws come out?
75?
75. So 24 years between Jaws coming out and this coming out. So there's a lot of advances in CGI and animatronics. So it makes a lot of sense that it would be a better looking shark now in 99 than in 75. So I think they used it well. They're still not showing you too much. They don't show you the whole thing for a couple of 10 minutes yet. I think you don't see any more of the shark. So yeah, what we see is good. What we see is plenty. We mentioned comparing it to Jaws as well. I feel like this film's going to fall down in some areas in comparing it to Jaws. Jaws is your favorite film, I believe?
Yeah, Mark? So my favorite film is Jaws, my favorite movie is Deep Blue Sea, and my favorite flick is Jaws: The Revenge. Which
I've never seen.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Your favorite film is Jaws, my favorite film is Jurassic Park, and I feel like Deep Blue Sea is in the Venn diagram crossover of Jaws and Jurassic Park. Deep Blue Sea fits nicely in there. There's got a lot of similarities to both of them.
And then Jurassic World becomes about people secretly improving animals. You have another animal handler who's a total ripped dude. You have creatures
bionic
escaping.
Stud Muffin.
Yeah, bionic stud muffin. You have all these elements. So listen, you have a big storm like in Jurassic Park. You have the clever girls, the sharks. You have a lot of elements. And Sam Jackson
not surviving.
Exactly. And so similar elements to Jurassic Park, and then I love that this comes out, and then you watch Jurassic World, and you're thinking to yourself, well, there's a helicopter crash too, exploding helicopter. You should listen to that podcast. But there's a helicopter crash. I mean, there's just a lot of the same things. So I kind of like that it was inspired by Jurassic Park and Jaws, and then Jurassic World, you could say with a tinfoil hat that Jurassic World took after Deep Blue Sea, which I do.
I mean, Jurassic World has a lot of influences. I'm sure we could type in this at the bottom of that list. But let's dig back into this minute a bit more. Did you look into the song that they're listening to? I know you said it's Good and Plenty by Divine, but did you look at the lyrics to this song?
No, I did not look at the lyrics.
It's a perfect song to be in Deep Blue Sea, lyric-wise. I broke it down. I went through. I'm not gonna recite the whole song for you here. No one wants to hear that, especially not gonna sing it. But opening lines to the song: "Listen, honey, can't you see?" Opening scene to the film. Kids. They can hear something. They can't see it. So that's already, the song is the film. Listen, honey, can't you see? Later, there's the lines, go with the flow. Just go with the flow. Our flame will burn all night long. That helicopter explosion on the surface, that burns for a really long time. That is still burning at the end of the film. When they get to the surface, there are still fires. So their flame will burn all night long. It's in there. Later, you have the line, I want to take you to another level, baby. Oh, the whole film was about the sharks taking them to different levels.
Yes.
They can go lower and flooding different areas of Aquatica. Right? Later, for you to let down your guard. Later, hey, sugar, the time has come for you to let down your guard and accept all my precious treasures. Sharks think the treasures are teeth. They've got to let their guard down and reveal all the precious treasures of their teeth. And I'll share my secrets and open my heart up to you. To a shark, a heart is a mouth. These sharks are smart. They're not good at anatomy. They will open their mouth up to you and eat you. There's a lot of repetition in this song. It's a lot of these things over and over again. But finally, so come on. No, it's waiting right here for you, baby. So come on, take it. They need the experiment to happen. I'm ready and willing are the last lines of the song. The sharks are ready. They're willing. They're waiting for the experiment to take place. And then that's it. They're going to go. This is a perfectly chosen song for this opening scene. The whole plot of the film It's buried in the lyrics to Good and Plenty by Divine.
This is why Deep Blue Sea is a classic.
Right, there's so many layers to this film.
Stone cold classic. And I'm so happy that Rennie Harlan took this, because he loves horror. He started off in Nightmare on Elm Street, and the fourth one. He started off making his name in horror, so he's happy to come back on this. And what else I love, aside from that song being absolutely perfect, and it makes me so happy, and I'm so glad you found that, is with inflation, this movie costs about $104 million. This is a $100 million R-rated creature feature. These don't happen anymore.
Yeah, how much was Cruel?
$15 million.
Yeah, and I love Cruel.
Oh, it's so good.
It looks like a lower cost film. It's got 2 name actors in it. It's all set in pretty much one location. It's fantastic.
Like Quentin Tarantino, it's one of my favorite 2019 films. I absolutely love it.
Mine too.
I love
my
it.
top 5.
And we were just talking about John Levengood and I, who are on the Movies, Films, and Flicks podcast. We were doing a CB's tournament, and Crawl made it to the semifinals, and it didn't make it to the final, which bums me out. But I love what they did for $15 million. But it's kind of crazy. Alejandro Aja, the director. And we talked about Piranha 3D, too, as well. We love that film. He had to be very smart. He had to go to Bulgaria. He had to make some really intelligent choices with his actors and make it as cheap as possible. This movie was $60 million in '99. That's a lot of money. And I love that they didn't have to hold back. They brought in Will Conte. They brought in a big cast. They have Stellan Skarsgård. They have Sam Jackson.
Samuel Jackson, yeah.
I mean, they have big names on this.
LL Cool J.
LL Cool J. They didn't have to go cheap with anything. And this movie, with inflation, it ended up, so if you account for that, it made $294 million worldwide. So as much as people want to say that this movie wasn't successful, I think, let's say $60 million, spend another 30 in advertising. So they made a profit on this film. And so, yeah, I don't know. I hope through these 33 episodes, we can convince people that the songs are perfect. The effects are great, except for the CGI. And there's a bionic stud muffin in it. So I just want to do all of that.
There's at least one bionic stud muffin. And bear in mind, Michael Rappaport is in this as well.
Oh, yeah. Scoggins.
Now, we meet Thomas Jane at the end of this scene. So where was Thomas Jane in 1999? This is kind of his breakout role.
Yeah.
Because previously he'd been in Boogie Nights, very, very fun role in Boogie Nights. Great scene towards the end there. And he had a small role in Face Off before this, but that's the only things. And he was in the film version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Zeph. I've never seen that, so I don't know. The only things of his I'd seen are Boogie Nights and Face Off. But I feel like this is his first big kind of starring role that threw him into the limelight.
Yeah, and he nails it. I think I guess we'll get to it later, but our first introduction on him, when you see him shooting that shark, I'm just talking about these 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You go, that's a guy who could spear a shark. That's a guy who could, take a cable attached to a hook and shoot a shark perfectly twice with it and then tow it back.
Now, is the cable a predetermined length? Because he seems to fire and then it doesn't have to tie it off or anything. It doesn't have to, it just kind of fires it and it is the right length to hit the shark and keep the shark there. So unless there's some kind of a winch or I don't know, some kind of a system that clamps the cable when it reaches its destination, which I don't think there is. I've not looked into it. I don't know. But it seems very, very accurate that he could judge that distance and shoot, and the shark not move any closer to the boat it's trying to get to, unless that digs back into your theory of the sharks are planning this, and it could go further, but it's choosing not to.
I don't want to think that Carter Blake is a dummy.
No.
Because if he shoots this thing twice and the shark just stops and he's like, yeah, I did it. That's not that.
Yeah, go me.
So he also doesn't know that this shark has been augmented. So he has no reason to think that it would be playing games with him. But I guess the only way he could have done this is it's attached to this, I guess, rifle that not a rifle, but like a crossbow looking thing that he has. He shoots it into the spear gun. There it is. Then he'll he'll put it in the boat. Maybe there's a little thing in the boat he can wedge it on and then it holds it. But that scene, that cape, I don't get it. That's why I think the shark just gets hit and goes, oh, I better knock out. I don't want to get hit with more of these.
Yeah, that hurts.
Because the boat never moves. So I'm taking this very literally. I'm not taking this as this wasn't thought out or there would be more of a wake. I just think it's a hydro boat that's specifically meant for hunting sharks. And this shark gets shot and then just plays dead, plays possum.
And if anyone is wondering, I have been to the Internet Movie Firearms database, and he's using a spear gun with the stock and receiver of a Remington 700 rifle.
Wow.
Whatever that means. I don't know beyond that. There you go.
So it's
listeners, I'm sure somebody out there cares.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. And I also
And
found
it's
out.
the same one used later in the film by Preacher at the end, which we'll get to then.
Oh, that's what a great